In today's tutorial, we are going to make something super practical. We're going to be animating buttons inside Roblox Studio. This is the guide you expected, and let's begin. The first thing you need is to follow up through the previous video where we created a text button. Now, I made it more beautiful, but it doesn't really matter. So what you want to do is go ahead on your text button, click it, and it's very important that you do exactly what I show you right now. Otherwise, you are not going to get the same results. So you want to go into properties and specifically anchor point. Click the drop down and set it to 0.5, 0.5. What this is going to do is center the zoom position of the button to the center of the button. So 50% there, 50% there. Super important. We are going to cover more about positioning and a lot of different details in future videos. Right now, what I want to show you is a practical, nice way to make amazing animated buttons. You don't really need to know the specifics because this is a ready-made script for you that you can use in your games today. Let's begin with the first system. 4 systems will be covered in today's video, so watch the whole video because every single system is amazing. So you need also to make sure that you add a local script inside your text button. Okay, in this case, you need to put it inside the text button, not outside. So let's begin by scripting. The first thing that we're going to create is a simple zoom in effect. Not super amazing, it does its job, it's not super smooth, but we're going to build on top of that in the next systems. So the first thing that you need to do is access the parent field, which is a text button. So we go into local GUI through script.parent. So now our local script has access to the text button. We want to initialize the initial size of the button into GUI.size, all right? So this is how we get the actual size of the text button. And we also want to set a scale factor. I'm going to do a 10% zoom. This is what the scale factor is. You can, of course, change it as much as you want. So now we're going to create a scale up function, all right? So we're going to name it scale up. And inside here, we're going to use something super amazing that you have never seen before in previous tutorials. We're going to use udim2, which is essentially how the size of GUIs is in terms of the Roblox types. You don't have to care about what exactly this code will do. You just need to follow along and you are going to get it. So first of all, we do udim.new and we have to put in 4 arguments into this .new function. So the first thing is we want to go into initSize.x.scale. And also we want to go again into initSize as the second argument .x.offset. But here we're going to increase the offset in the x-axis by the scale factor. So this is where the 10% zoom happens. We offset the button by 10% in the x-axis. So it's going to become 10% bigger like that. Then we want to do exactly the same process, but we're going to do it for the y-axis. So we do y.scale, comma, initSize.y.offset, and we multiply that by the scale factor. So we do also 10% zoom on the y direction up and down. So our button is 10% bigger on the scale up in both dimensions, all right? This is what happens, super, super easy. And of course, as we have calculated the new size, we need to set it into our GUI button. So we calculate it, and then we set the new size for our GUI button. Then what we want to do is also create a scale down function, which we're going to call in this case reset size, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to reset the size. So we go to GUI.size equals init size. Super simple. And as we've said in the previous tutorial, we have 2 mouse events, mouse enter, mouse leave, and we set it to scale up when we enter the mouse and reset size when our mouse leaves the button. So let's save this and let's go and test it out, guys. So let's hit play, the game loads, and as we can see, we see our button here. And ooh, we got an error. Well, I did a mistake. This happens happens a lot of times. So the scale here is with capital, okay? So make sure that the scale is capital. Make sure it's not a small s, it's a capital S, okay? So let's play again. These things happen. So that's why we have the output log, and you see it. Boom, it zooms in, zooms out. Looks beautiful. But if you see, the zoom is not very smooth. I actually like it. I think it's great. But let's make this animation even more smooth. Let's go to the second system. So we keep everything the same. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the initial size into original size because this is more explainable. We're also going to add a new variable that is the tween time. This is essentially for how long the animation will play. And we're going to keep everything pretty much the same. I'm going to change init size here to original size, okay? And this is very important to understand. Make sure to do this change so you understand all of the different places where we use original size and where we don't use it. And the main difference is this one. So we go here and what we write, take a look. So we write local tween info equals tween info dot new tween time. All right. So we do this first. We go into a new line, a new variable local tween, and we are going to go into the game. We're going to get the tween service. Now, a lot of people will say, what is this tween service? This is essentially a service that allows us to do this kind of smooth animations. Okay, you don't need to know anything more than that. I don't even know anything more than that. I'm just teaching you what I just learned. We're going to put tween info here, okay, as the second argument. We put the GUI as the first argument. So we say which element we want to make smooth animations on. And here we have to set the size equals to the new size. Okay, so we say which attribute we change with this very smooth animation. All right, so that's all that happens. And what you have to do right now is you have to remove this GUI.size equals new size. By the way, if you want to get the scripts, I will have them on my Roblox Bible. This is a public free document for you where I teach you everything about Roblox. It's down below in the description. You just go to the hover animations chapter and you are going to find all of the systems ready to copy and paste into your local script. You don't even have to code it. So the final thing that we need to do is we want to call the play method for the tween service. All right. So we also got to change the reset size here. So what we need to do is again create the tween info equals tween info dot new tween time, and again call local tween. But in this case, what changes is that the size will instead be the original size. Okay, so that's how we smoothly put it back to the original size. Okay, and of course we got to play the animation. All right, it's simple as that. Everything else remain as it was previously. So let's go ahead and play. Let's see what happens. Smooth animation. This is a lot slower and a lot more smooth. So this is how you make smooth animations. Now, what would be very, very interesting, we could add color change in our scripts. So how do we do this? First of all, we have to define what color we want. Okay, and we also have to save the original color. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin by, first of all, finding the original color, save it into a local variable. So we go to GUI.background color 3. Okay, so this is going to be the three numbers of RGB from 0 to 255. And what we want to do here is we also want to set a variable about the new color. So the hover color is going to be color3.new. I'm just going to put 01.0, which is actually green. We may not want it, so I'm going to change it to red. And boom, you see here how the color 3 also changes automatically. So this is very nice from Roblox. You don't even have to know the codes to make the exact color you want. You can just use the palette over here. So what we're going to change is something very, very simple. Like the change is minimal. We're going to put a comma here and we're going to say background color 3 equals hover color inside the tween service. So we don't only change the size by calculating dynamically, but we also change the hover color. As simple as that. And of course, you can do exactly the same thing to reset the color. So you go to background 3 color equals original color in the reset size. So let's go ahead and test it out. You see, we enter the button and it changes also color and it has a smooth animation. We exit the button and boom, it's back to normal. And this looks lovely. This, in my opinion at least, looks absolutely amazing. And already our buttons are pretty much ready. We don't need to do any different stuff. However, I know that a lot of people don't really like these smooth animations. They want to avoid them. They add unnecessary friction to their games. So a lot of people will ask, okay, Ira, I don't want this complicated code. I don't want smooth animations. I want to keep my game simple, but I want to change the color. Well, there is an easier way to do so. Okay, so what you would do here is you could, I would say, let's do it in one of the most simple ways. I'm just going to add a comment here just to close this part of the code. And we're going to write a local function scale up. And what we're going to do, we're just going to do something very simple. We're going to GUI the background color 3, and we're just changing it to hover color. And we can do the same for the reset size function, and we turn the background color back to the original color. Simple as that. Okay, so let's go ahead and play the game. Let's see what happens. Boom, it changes the color only, and the code is very simple. It's like, I don't know, 4 lines of code plus what you need for the GUI and the new colors and saving the old color. It's as simple as that. So this is how you make amazing animated, colorful buttons inside Roblox Studio. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.